They say the most dangerous secrets aren't buried 6 feet under. They're buried in plain sight, hidden behind power, privilege, and wealth so vast, it can make reality disappear. On August 10th, 2019, a man was found dead in his Manhattan jail cell. They said it was suicide. But what if I told you his death might have been the final, deliberate act in a story decades in the making? A story about manipulation, exploitation, and a network of power that reached into the highest levels of politics, royalty, and finance. This is the story of Jeffrey Epstein and the silence that still echoes long after he's gone. The silence of power. When I first learned about Jeffrey Epstein, he wasn't a monster you've read about. At least, not publicly. He was charming, a man who could shake hands with the president in the morning and dine with a billionaire at night. He came from nothing. Born in Brooklyn, 1953. No Ivy League degree. No family fortune. But he had something else. The kind of confidence that makes people believe you're worth trusting. Or at least worth fearing. In the late 1970s, he hustled his way into the finance world. By the mid-80s, he was managing the money of the ultra-wealthy. And that was where the doors began to open. Private parties. Exclusive clubs. Social circles where the air itself feels expensive. Epstein collected friends like other people collect art. Only he knew some of those friends could be turned into leverage. Behind closed doors, rumors began to swirl. About young women, about strange trips to his private Caribbean island, about a black leather-bound book filled with names and numbers. Names that, if ever revealed, could burn down reputations overnight. But no one was talking. Not yet. What was inside that black book? And why were some of the world's most powerful people afraid of the man who held it? If you flew with Jeffrey Epstein, you didn't just travel. You entered another world. His jet was nicknamed the Lolita Express. Inside, the rules bent, the lines blurred, and boundaries vanished. Victims would later describe the same pattern. Epstein would lure them with promises, modeling opportunities, education, money for their families. They were young. Too young, and once they stepped inside his orbit, escape felt impossible. On his island, Little St. James, staff were told not to ask questions. Guests came and went, celebrities, scientists, politicians, even royalty. Some stayed for hours, others for days. Here's the thing about predators like Epstein. They don't just feed on the vulnerable, they surround themselves with people who will protect them. He had allies in law enforcement, friends in government, billionaires in his pocket, and every single one of them knew if Epstein went down, he wasn't going alone. But in 2005, a single phone call from a terrified parent began to unravel the empire Jeffrey Epstein thought could never be touched. In Palm Beach, Florida, a 14-year-old girl told her mother she'd been paid for a massage at Epstein's mansion. The details that came next would ignite a police investigation. What they found was a network of young girls, dozens of them groomed, abused, and paid to recruit others. It was industrialized exploitation. The evidence? Overwhelming. The witnesses? Many. The charges? Serious enough to put Epstein away for life. But in 2008, something happened. Something no one could quite explain. A secret deal was struck. Epstein pleaded guilty to a single count of solicitation. He served 13 months. 13 months. For what many saw as serial abuse of minors. The deal was so quiet. Even his victims didn't know it was happening. Some say it was influence. Others say it was fear. But all agreed Epstein had just walked away from justice again. It wouldn't be until 2019, in a Manhattan townhouse filled with hidden safes, CDs, and photographs, that the truth would come rushing back to the surface. July 6, 2019. Epstein was arrested at Teterboro Airport. This time, there would be no sweetheart deal. The evidence was digital. Photographs, logs, names. And those names were still powerful. He was placed in the Metropolitan Correctional Center, a federal facility supposedly secure. Then, August 10th, guards claimed they found him in his cell, unresponsive. They said he hanged himself with a bedsheet. But the cameras? Conveniently not working. The guards? Asleep. The body? Rushed out before full investigation. The autopsy? Contested. One medical examiner claimed the injuries looked more like strangulation than suicide. The official ruling? Suicide. The public? Divided forever. And just like that, the man who could brought down some of the most powerful people in the world would never speak again. After Epstein's death, the files began to disappear. Names redacted, tapes missing. The infamous Black Book locked away. Ghislaine Maxwell, his longtime companion, would be arrested and convicted in 2021, but the trial avoided the full list of Epstein's associates. The silence was deafening. And maybe that's the real story here, not just a man, but the system that let him rise, thrive, and vanish while his victims were left to pick up the pieces. In the end, Jeffrey Epstein's life wasn't just a story about a predator. It was a story about power, and what happens when power decides who gets to speak and who gets erased. Subscribe for more gripping, true crime-inspired stories and dark psychological mysteries from inside criminals' minds.